David. David.
He's falling in a beautiful swirling pattern.
David.
Hello everyone, welcome to the David Wells Experiment. I'm your host David Wells, and I'm recording yet another podcast. So, falling for that trap that I found myself almost falling for that trap that that I find myself almost falling into every Sunday. Some people might not bemoan it or think of it as such a bad thing, but I was almost about to go through like hours worth of just doom scrolling on my phone, which I suppose is kind of the modern day equivalent of channel surfing, when you would just sit on your couch in front of the TV and just click through the channels, even though there wasn't something that was going to satisfy you. Even though you knew what was coming on, you thought, well, maybe if I flip through again, enough time will pass that something interesting comes on, which is just wishful thinking at best. And it's the same thing with your smartphone, except, well, your smartphone is portable. But anyway, I'm doing an experiment, which I kind of feel like I already know the answer to, but we'll see how well it works. I'm doing a podcast, and my brother's dog is in the other room, and he's super whiny. And as soon as I upload this project, I'm going to put it through an AI filter, and if it needs to be passed through it again, I'll do that. Also, I'm currently listening on my smartphone to one of those President AI memes. It's so funny, like those things are a riot, and I tend to listen to those. The best ones have AI parody versions of Biden, Trump, Obama, and Bush. And yeah, they're hysterical. Ironically, I'll listen to those after I've just read current events or something and I'm all depressed about what's going on with the world. So I kind of watch these parody versions of the people who are pretty responsible for like the way things are nowadays. I told you how I was so hopefully, like, I've got headphones on, I'm wearing a lapel mic, and these headphones I have, they're not as discreet as like the little earbuds, so if you hear something in the background, hopefully you won't, because I'm confident the AI filter I use will get rid of all the background noise, but I'm being redundant. I honestly think that it's funny, I have no empirical data to back this up, but my gut instinct tells me that for my mental health, it is better to pull out my old Game Boy Pocket, or no, Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Pocket is the thing I had in the 90s. The Game Boy Color is something I bought at the beginning of 2020 before everything got all crazy. I feel like I've no scientific proof to prove it, but I feel like playing my Game Boy is healthier, and there's a huge difference than, say, just pulling out my phone and scrolling. And it's just a gut instinct, but I guess the rationale behind it is, with a video game, there's an objective in mind. There's something to do, whereas with a phone, you're just looking for something to do, and you can keep looking for forever. I feel like there's a real study to be done there, but I don't know that anyone has. That'd be surprising given that we've had smartphones in their current incarnation since 2007. I remember I was listening to the DVD commentary or the behind the scenes of that Seth Rogen movie Funny People. This just goes to show how old that movie is. Like, I guess it was one of those first movies where smartphones started to sort of make themselves known into regular people's lives. Because apparently critics were saying like they were trying to make some sort of statement about being on smartphones, because there were several scenes where people would pull out their phones and just, go through them like we do. And Seth Rogen's like, no, it's just that thing of like when you're bored and you don't know what to do, you just pull out your phone. So it's funny, that's how far we've come. Or fallen, depending on what you want to say. I'm sure there's an upside and a downside to everything. But I don't want to try to dwell too much on the bad because, yeah, that happens a lot. I was, speaking of video games and my Game Boy, I may have to take, I'm not sure if it's my game or the Game Boy that's acting up. I put in Wario Land 2, which I'd been playing for like the last couple weeks, had no problems. And it kind of glitched out on me. But then I put Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins in, and it played no problem. Maybe the cartridge or something is corrupt, but oh well. If that's the case, I'll just have to look for another copy if I feel inclined to. It's crazy. I got to some boss levels and secret hidden levels that I never was able to get to in the initial run. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I've got to scrub anyway from my vocabulary. It's just a filler word at this point. And I was just about to say it again until I caught myself. So I may have to get my Game Boy fixed, but I guess getting back to the discussion, video games versus smartphone, I guess with video games, I might have said this before, there's a clear objective. You have like something of an end game in mind that you can aim at. I guess with just doom scrolling and channel surfing, there's no end game in sight. You're just looking for stimuli. Like, it's funny. I do think there's a difference between videos and movies. Like, I don't want to bemoan videos and say they're not cinema or whatever. But I've noticed that, like, just, due to time and being busy, sometimes I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and watch a movie, like give it my time, or I'll only be able to watch snippets of it. Whereas I kind of fell in the trap of being on a social media app or whatever and looking at a clip, and it doesn't really tell a story, but it's like, oh, that's interesting. Or I'll be driving on my way to work and I'll have a podcast or whatever playing in the background. And it's meant to be passively consumed. And I guess it isn't completely passive consumption media isn't completely unprecedented. I mean, I remember my dad would listen to like AM radio on the way to school, and I just remember it being boring grown-up stuff. So, yeah. I mean, I guess there is an art form in itself in creating passive content, because you have to give people context to know what they're talking about. people will make the assumption they don't have to pay attention, but you still have to give them enough context that they can follow along. But anyway, oh gosh, I did it again. I need to in addition to making movies, I also probably need to make a video game as well. Like a lot of you might not know this, but in like 2018, I decided, hey, why don't I try making video games? And it was kind of an incremental thing that I did for a while. And I think I came out with it finally in like 2021 or 2022. And it was basically like a Mario Mega Man knockoff. And I really didn't figure out how to monetize it or anything. I probably need to get a more robust video game engine, like, I don't know, Unreal or Unity or something. One of the things that keeps me from doing that is I just don't have a very powerful computer. When I got my computer, it was not top of the line. I feel like it was a refurbished older computer because it was 2016 and it had a DVD drive. And even before 2016, DVD and CD drives were starting to, you know, become old news. But I felt really compelled to make a podcast today, as I have of recent. I'm hoping that I just do enough creative things that I will be able to jumpstart myself back into making a movie. And who knows, maybe the big thing that's standing in my way is when I think of make a movie, I think, oh, I have to make a feature film. But maybe it would be prudent of me to, well, I don't even know prudent. I'm just throwing out big words to try to sound smart. Maybe I have to change the question. And I think the question is, what kind of feature film do I need to make? Maybe it doesn't have to be a feature. Maybe it could be a short film, even if it's like a long-ish short film. Oh yeah, we had curry today at church. That was cool. We haven't had that in a while. I ate like 2 plates of it. But the funny thing was I was in such a hurry that somebody's like, hey, you left a mess. There's white rice wherever you were sitting. I'm like, my bad. And I kind of jokingly tried to pass it off as like, I guess the curry was so good that I forgot to clean up after myself, but that was lame. Have yet to pay the power bill. I'm anticipating it being a bit higher than normal. I've got a friend who's going to help me try to go solar, but as it currently stands, I have a feeling my credit's not good enough to apply for that. It would be $200 a month, and that would pay for it being installed and also paying for the equipment. So that would be cool. I bet my church could use going solar. I'll have to bring that up to somebody. Really helps save a lot. I heard one reason why we haven't, why the power grid hasn't like flaked out on us as of recent is because more people have gone solar, so there's less of a strain on it. It just makes me, I always forget about the fact that more and more people are coming to San Antonio or coming to Texas, that the population is getting bigger, and we're one of the few states or regions or whatever that basically has our own power grid. So of course it makes sense that there's this big push for solar. And I know that can be kind of a politically touchy subject, but to me it honestly doesn't make sense. I just see it as one more tool in a list of options and of available tools. So, who knows? I should get it at some point because I hear it's just going to get hotter, but I don't want to make anybody freak out. I do have a flash for my camera that I need to learn how to use. That would definitely help out. I will probably make a point of doing that. I also need to make some kind of movie. I know I say that all the time, but I just wonder what the project should be. And I hear these old words of Kevin Smith from way back in the day when it's like, make the movie that you have to see that no one else is making. It's interesting that I was never really a huge fan of his movies. He's got one or two that I'm interested in or that are really good, but I listen more to him talk and tell stories and stuff. He's one of those podcasts that I'll listen to pretty often. Sorry, I'm also laughing at these AI president memes that I'm listening to while I'm doing this. Oh, total rabbit hole. Nothing to do with what we're talking about. But a couple weeks ago, I saw one of the original Japanese versions of that movie, The Grudge, called Ju-on. But it was like the last movie made in like 2009 called Ju-on White Ghost. It kind of has nothing to do. Hold on just a second, guys. Come in. I don't have any on me. I'm doing a podcast. Uh, so my brother just walked in asking for Tylenol. And I'm debating, do I want to keep this in the podcast? Would it be kind of funny? Or would you just wonder what's the sudden change in context? Oh well, I guess that's life. Maybe I should have done this in my car, but my car right now would be an oven. I can't say that I'm tired, but I have had a bit of a headache ever since I spent that one day outside. Caused me to kind of have some weird dreams. Weird dreams I'm not going to get into. But anyway, I haven't felt this way in a while. I may go get ice cream later on. Man, it's funny, like, there are a lot of things you could probably criticize him on, but I don't get why some people get on Biden's case for how much ice cream he eats. I mean, whether you do a great job or not great job of the presidency is like a pretty demanding one and a stress-inducing one. I imagine that all the cortisol that such a job induces, it would. I bet ice cream really helps mitigate that. So I'll probably get some ice cream at some point today. And yeah, I may or may not do another podcast today. Maybe I'll do two more after this one. I was going to try to do one before church, but I just got distracted. But hey, I would say that I'm on a roll. It's funny, my brother is in Greece currently, him and his girlfriend, and there was this one picture of him learning how to make food, and it made me think, like, if they put a grain and a black and white filter on it, he'd look like an old World War II soldier, like in the mess hall or something. I think it's the hat that does it. Sorry, I'm messaging someone on Facebook right now, and it's kind of difficult to do that, do the podcast, and this. So anyway, oh, speaking of Candyland, Sorry, that was mentioned in the meme I'm listening to. And yeah, my work, Chick-fil-A, currently they're selling a board game, which is maybe the strangest thing they've done in a while. And I hear that it's basically a Candyland knockoff. I think I might have. Weird. I'm looking at this thing that says photography is officially dead. All major camera makers cease operations. Okay, I'm guessing. Okay, so the opening bit and the the title was a joke, and I think there's also I think there's a real article to be read, and it's another AI thing. Which, oh yeah, AI is also something I've wanted to do a podcast on, but but I don't know. I just haven't gotten around to it. AI really doesn't scare me the way that it does some people. Because when you think about it, I've used AI before, and in fact, if you're listening to this video, it has been passed through an AI filter get rid of to get rid of background noise. And it's like AI is only capable of what we make it capable to do. It's not like it's sentient or like it can make stuff happen. Now it can be a really powerful tool. It kind of feels like a more refined version of search engines where you can like be really specific with the questions. I think I'd also like to get some candy at some point today. I probably need like an IV drip or something. Those are always those are always helpful and make me feel good. But I just can't currently afford going over to what is it? Oh yeah, Restore Hyper Wellness. But I have a slight headache, so probably nothing a little Tylenol can't help. In relation to video games, I'm also going to probably try to. I have this game engine called Pico 8, which I bought sometime last year, maybe even the year before. And it's a it's an emulator for a video game system that never existed, but it puts some real limitations on what you can do. Like there's some serious restraints that are like about where you make a game that's about the size of a file of a single JPEG image, or I'm probably not saying it exactly, but they put some ridiculous constraints on you to try to force you to be creative like you would have to back in the day. It really tries to emulate sort of the 8-bit era of video games, particularly the pre-video game crash of 1983. I don't think so much the the post NES era. Yeah. I wonder what kind of movies I would want to make. It used to be so so apparent, but now it's just like, I don't know. It's really interesting though, like some of my stuff, like I kind of wonder what is the difference between being an edgelord and trying to say something profound. I think I've seen videos and like I'll probably hear somebody say what the point is, but it's funny. I think nowadays being an edgelord is kind of derided, like just shock value for its own sake. But I remember when it used to sort of be championed, when you could make something edgy and it would generate controversy, but there didn't seem to be this widespread call for things to get banned or censored. Anyway, like I guess I mention it because some of the things I've made movies about, some could accuse me of being an edgelord, even though I don't see that. But that's just kind of the things I gravitate towards too in making films. That or just go the opposite and make kind of like live action anime. Maybe if I thought hard enough about it, I could figure out a way to make that other kind of movie. But I just haven't come across anything so far. Hmm. Well, I guess I'll conclude this episode. This has been the David Wells Experiment, and have an absolutely super day, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye.